NFL fans, do not adjust your, I guess, television screens. You might be watching me from your iPhone, I guess. I am in an undisclosed location. It's what us Cowboy fans do when we're waiting on pitchers and catchers to report, aka the first round of the playoffs. But luckily, I am joined by somebody who has a lot more to celebrate, and he is my good buddy Daniel Snyder. I am Jeremy the Impact York. This is the Impact Media uh, playoff weekly roundup. I don't know. We have a fun name for it, and I just don't remember it. But how are you doing, Daniel?
I'm always good, bud. Always good.
Good. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's all kinds of technical glitches. We're just going to try to get through this because this is probably the best way it's going to happen. This is life as a Cowboys fan. This is what you get.
Love that.
But let's not waste much more time. Let's start with those games from last weekend. Is any of the four really stick out?
Six. But yeah.
Oh, six. Sorry.
Yeah, you good.
Well, two were pretty forgettable. Actually, three, but
Well, I mean, honestly, I like what the Texans did to that number one Cleveland defense. Which is going to be a big part of what I talk about, here in a little bit when we talk about this week's games. The Detroit, the Lions Rams game was really the only game when you didn't know who was going to win once it got
right.
going. Um, Everything else, I mean, let's if it, for those of y'all that watched last week, I got the first two wrong. I got Saturdays wrong, and then everything else I was right about. Um,
Yeah,
and
oddly enough,
even
we're
in
both 4-2.
Yeah, I saw even with the Kansas City Miami, with my gut was saying go with Kansas City, but I went with Miami, and it is what it is. Sometimes you got to go with your gut. But
That's
yeah, I
that's
mean, nothing really stood out, dude.
I was about to say that's what happened to me. I would have went 6-0, but I decided to homer out for my team, and even though I didn't feel good about it, um, and I tried to get cute with that Pittsburgh pick when I knew better. And other than that, I would have went 6-0. But that is
I
why we
agree.
do picks.
Yes, yes, yes.
But yeah,
Speaking of picks,
yeah. Speaking of
go
picks,
ahead.
there are four games going on this weekend. I did know that. I did write those down. Is do you
The
want
first one's
to?
Houston, Baltimore is the first one.
Okay, let's
Um,
do that. We'll do the Saturday games and we'll do the Sunday games. We'll do them that way.
okay, as always, you know me, I like to do my own little note thing. I know that Houston and Baltimore have played 13 times in their career as two teams, and Baltimore is 11 and two. Yeah,
I was gonna like randomly take a shot at Houston and say it's Baltimore 11-2, but that's pretty crazy.
they played this year. They actually did play this year in week one. And obviously Baltimore won 25-9. But
That
that wasn't
sounds
the
yeah,
that
that sounds like a
that
Baltimore game.
that wasn't the Houston team that's playing them
No,
Saturday.
no, not
So
at
yeah, I
all.
mean,
I got to give credit where credit is due. Yes, Carolina Panther fans, I do think Bryce Young is a good quarterback. He's going to be good, but who knew C.J. Stroud was going to be the best quarterback out of the crop this year? And between good coaching and him making the people around him better, here's Houston in the second round with a chance to upset probably you'd have to say the number one or number two favorites, depending on if you want to talk about that
I
feeling in
agree.
your shirt or not. Because I think on paper it would probably be San Francisco. Baltimore is probably
Baltimore, so
the
it could go either way.
yeah, that's probably the Super Bowl everybody's looking at. But you know, Houston's not supposed to be here, and yet here they are. So what do you kind of see with this game?
I said it last week. I said it last week. The two most dangerous teams in the playoffs right now are the Texans and the Packers because they're two teams that shouldn't be there. Nobody expected them to be there, and they have nothing to lose. Um, it's crazy how similar these two teams are in the manner of neither quarterback they have their number ones, but they don't have their number ones. If you're open, he's going to get you the ball. If they need to run, they're going to run. Um, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Just first, they've met these two teams have met once in the playoffs. Is back in 2012. Baltimore won. Um, this time, Houston equals it out. Houston, the Texans go into Baltimore, and I feel like this fairy tale that they're on, it keeps going, and they beat Baltimore and Houston in Baltimore.
Hmm. I think we are going to see two of the better quarterbacks. that are still in the
I, the,
playoffs.
hey, the AFC has four elite quarterbacks, I think, still
Oh
in
yeah,
the playoffs.
yeah, I agree. Uh, Baltimore at home, you kind of want to side with them, but man, I've kind of been trying to debate myself all day about taking Baltimore because I'm a Harbaugh fan. I like what he does up there. Between him and Tomlin, I think are two of the best coaches in the league because everybody plays for them. It doesn't matter, you know, skill level doesn't matter, health. That those guys line up for their coaches, but I think I agree with you. I think CJ Stroud's going to find some way to find some seams in this Baltimore defense, and he's going to make them look bad. And Houston, I think, pulls this off. We might see a 24-23 like we did with that Detroit game you mentioned, but I think this might be the game of the weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't. I don't know. That KC Buffalo is going to be another one. We'll get to that eventually. Um, I just feel I, even with them adding, even with the Ravens adding that running back, Davin
Cook,
Cook, wasn't it?
Dalvin Cook, yeah,
He doesn't have chemistry with the team. I don't care how good he is. There's no chemistry there. Yeah, he can run the ball in between. I just, I don't know. Just something about that Houston team that scares me a little bit. I got to go Texans. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
yeah. So we agree out of the gate, something we didn't do last week.
Yeah,
And is that a 4 o'clock
4
Saturday
o'clock.
game?
It is. It's either 4 or 4:30. Yes,
And
it's the
that's the
first one on
ABC,
Saturday.
ESPN Plus game, right?
That I do not know. I cannot answer that
I'm
one
pretty
for you.
sure each of the major networks has a
A
game
playoff
apiece.
game.
So I think, yeah, because I think the next one I believe is the Fox game, if I'm not mistaken. I think they get the normal primetime Saturday.
Saturday
Yeah,
night game,
yeah. Which
which leads to
what is that next game? Oh, are they
you
still
see
in
them.
this? Are they?
Yeah, I don't know how we're
ESPN.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is the funny thing. No team out of all the teams that's left, no team has a playoff history of these two teams. We've met. This will be the 10th time.
Wow.
Yeah, the 49ers have a 5-4 record against the Packers, so we got the Packers have a chance to tie it. Um, this I feel like, which it's you can say that Baltimore is the better team when it comes between us and them because they did beat us. I just feel like the Green Bay's chances against us, and it could be me homering, is a whole lot lower than the Texans against the Ravens. And I think because the Texans are a better team than the Packers. Um,
I think that's fair.
and it's crazy. The Packers lead us all time, 38-33 in all time. And it's just looking at my notes right quick. And I'm gonna shoot this off, and then we'll get into this. It's got in 1996, it was a divisional round. Green Bay beat us, and they ended up losing to Dallas the next week. 97, Green Bay beat us in the divisional round. They ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. 97, Green Bay beat us. They ended up in the NFC Championship. They ended up losing in the Super Bowl to Denver. And that was in 98. I'm sorry, it's 96, 97, 98. And 99, we won, but we ended up losing Atlanta the year that Atlanta ended up in the Super Bowl and lost. Then we came back in 2002. We played each other, and Green Bay beat us again. They were 4-1 by 2002, and Green Bay lost that next round. But in 2013, we beat them in the divisional round and lost to Baltimore in the Super Bowl that year. And
By the way,
2014, we
I
beat.
still stick by that one for the conspiracy that if the lights don't go out, if Beyonce doesn't knock the power out, I think you guys win that game.
You know what? I'm gonna stick with that too. I'm gonna stick with that too. That didn't hurt. That didn't hurt a lot because we should have won that. In 2014, we beat them and we lost to Seattle, and Seattle ended up winning the Super Bowl. In 2020, we beat them and we ended up losing to KC in the Super Bowl. And then in 2022, we beat them and then we lost to the Rams, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. So the last 4 years, the winner of this game either lost to the Super Bowl winner or ended up in the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's interesting. I think
That's
we win.
I was about to say that's just testament to these two franchises. I mean, yeah, I can throw Dallas in there too. There's just those storied franchises where when they get on a run, there'll be a 8 to 10 year block where they're constantly in the conference championship, if not the Super Bowl, and they're constantly going to play against, you know, It's going to be Dallas. It's going to be Green Bay. It's going to be San Francisco. It's just
Yeah,
those teams that every time you turn around, one of the three of them are sitting on top.
I agree. I agree. And um, it was funny that the first round was y'all against Green Bay, and then now it's us against Green Bay.
Mhm.
It's just like one of those, or it's just one of those where those teams are always in the mix somewhere. They're going to see each other, and I feel
Mhm.
like it's going to be like this for a long time because I think Jordan Love's going to be around for a while.
Oh yeah. So obviously you're taking you're
Yeah,
homering out there. Obviously,
I've got a homer,
understandable.
bud.
I think you got a better argument than I did last week to do it. So I totally understand it. But and I'm going to say it this way. For one, since our picks are just bragging rights anyway, there's not much on the line. If you
There's
guys are
nothing
going
on
to
it. Yeah,
if you guys are going to the places that don't sponsor here that allow you to gamble, then good for you. Hope you're doing well with the picks. Hey, depending on who you listen to, you went 4-2 last week. Um,
regardless. Yeah,
I want you guys to win. I do want San Francisco to win, but for the sake of this show, I'm going to go Green Bay because I think Jordan Love is not done impressing people, and he still could do the things I'm going to say. They can still do these things and lose because you guys are just that good. Every time you turn around, you get another pass rusher. So I mean, you probably got two more this week. But I think Jordan Love is tired of everybody saying, "When are
what
you going
about
to take that
Aaron?
next step?" Uh,
Yeah,
oh gosh, it's hard to follow Aaron. Oh, what's Aaron doing? Oh, Aaron had to follow Brett, but he was able to do that. Why can't Jordan do that? I think he's just tired of hearing it to where he's gonna play till he gets hit by the train, or he's gonna knock the train off the track. He's gonna do one of the two.
and he's going to say, and with if he does beat us, and here's the thing, I'm a little worried about Russ. I am a little worried about Russ. I'm not going, but if he beats us, he'll be able to look and say, Aaron could never beat the 49ers. Aaron never beat us,
True.
especially in the playoffs.
I about to say
So
all those times that you said that they beat you, that was Brett Favre.
yes, it was. Yes, it was. Aaron Rodgers could not beat us.
Nope, it was always something about it. You're one of the few teams that he just couldn't get past for some reason.
Yeah. So yeah. So okay. So we
But
splitting it
like
up on
I said,
that one.
that's the sake of the show. I'll go Green Bay, and not because they beat Dallas, because once again I probably would have said the same thing this week that I really do think 49ers are going to win, but I just for the sake of the show made a little bit of a case. I do think the Green Bay defense is pretty good. There are some matchups that I look forward to, and most of them are on the in the trenches. Most of them are offensive line versus defensive line because I think we know the skill players. It's going to come down to who can hold the line.
Could you imagine the storyline if Green Bay went into Dallas and beat Dallas, then goes into San Francisco and beat San Francisco?
Because
And
then,
then they
oof,
end up going, let's say Detroit wins, and then they have to go into Detroit to beat a the team that won the division. Come on, man. The storyline there is impressive. That's going to stop this week, but it's a beautiful storyline.
yeah, yeah, it's one of those. Oh, cute story, bro. But
Yeah. Speaking
mm,
of the Detroit Bucks, bud, that's the next
yeah,
game, Sunday. Was it Sunday at 3, 1, 2, 5, 6, 12? Who knows
three or
what time it is?
four. I think I
It's the
think it's
first game.
4 and 8 both days, if I'm not mistaken. I
Okay.
could be completely wrong, but I no, it's three. I think the first game on Sunday is at three,
Okay.
something like that. Three and
But it is the
seven, or
Detroit. It is Tampa
Mhm.
Bay versus Detroit.
And hey, speaking of another good story, Baker Mayfield, we said before, when you support somebody, when you let them be them and you really put them in a place they can thrive, he's having a pretty good year.
And he looked impressive against that Rams team. He looked very impressive. Detroit looked good. Yes. No, I said against that Rams team. I meant that Eagle team. Talking about Tampa Bay. Yeah.
But
But
Detroit had to hang on last week. They
against
went
the
out
Rams,
to
yes,
they really started to go, and then all of a sudden, here come the Rams catching up, and
yes.
it told me a lot about Detroit.
That's why, yeah, but Baker looked good against Philadelphia. But at this right now, I believe the Bulldogs would look good against Philadelphia. My high school football team would look good against Philadelphia. Um,
I say here
I'm s-
locally to both of us, the Carrollton Trojans would probably put up a pretty good game.
I agree. Here in about 5 years, we'll get to see the quarterback in Carrollton probably playing against that Eagle team.
He might be an Eagle by
Because
then.
touche. But right, yeah. Um, these two teams have a long history. They've only met once in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Um, it was in '97, and the Bucks won that game. But there's the Lions hold the all-time record of 32-29. They met this year on October the 15th, and Detroit actually won that game 20-6.
Yeah.
Um, and they have such a long history because they were both in the NFC Central before all the everything split up. Um, so from the people I've spoke with, this is not a lot of people's disagreeing with me, but I don't care. I'm not here for anybody else to agree with. Tampa Bay wins this game. Baker Mayfield beats Detroit. I don't know. It's just something about him right now. Something about him right now. I I I haven't been on the Lions bandwagon. I feel like against good teams, Detroit doesn't show up.
No, they don't.
Um, and I'm not saying that the Bucks are good because they're really not that great. The Bucks are lucky that they caught Philadelphia in the Philadelphia mode, and they caught the Lions in Lions mode.
In survival mode. That's basically what both of them
Yeah,
are in. They're just trying to
yeah,
hang on, and
yeah,
it's like they ran out of steam, or leading the lion to slaughter here. Maybe if he gets too close to the cannons.
yeah. It's almost like everybody's playing for second place to the 49ers, if you ask me, but it is what it is. It's
Well,
just that
it's
homering.
it's actually a really good argument because like that's what I said a while ago is the two front runners to be in the Super Bowl are Baltimore and San Francisco, and whether you're a fan of them or not, I think everybody else at least respects the fact that, oh, that could very much be the Super Bowl we get.
The AFC is going to produce a better team. There's it's a harder road for everybody in the AFC. I feel like all if even after last week, Houston declared themselves as one of those teams that if I'm in the Super Bowl, I'm good enough to be here. But those
Hmm.
other three, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, are good enough to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
All the teams here, the teams in the NFC, I'm sorry,
yeah.
they're not. They're not. If they were in the other division, they wouldn't have been good. Detroit
Like
can't beat those four
no,
teams. I don't
I was
think
about
Tampa Bay can beat those four teams.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I was going to say you
Green
got
Bay,
the 49ers definitely are a Super Bowl caliber team. I absolutely. And then you have to start kind of not really reaching, but you have to make a stronger case for Green Bay as probably the second best team in the
I
NFC.
agree. I
And one
agree.
and unfortunately one's going home this week, so we're not going to get to see them ultimately fight for the NFC next week.
I agree 110%. I feel like once again, it could be me homering. I feel like this 49er Packer game is really the for the NFC Championship.
Yep. Just like my Michigan Wolverines, I knew with thanks that they knocked Georgia out of the playoffs, that the committee did us a favor. All we had to do was beat Alabama, and we could beat the other two teams, and that's exactly what happened. You cleared the deck of one. We were able to take care of the lesser of the two. That's kind of what this game is setting up as. Whoever wins this should be able to beat one of the other two teams and be in the Super Bowl.
I agree. So I mean, I got Tampa Bay beating Detroit. I see a Tampa Bay 49er NFC Championship, which will be such an ugly game. Detroit will give us a harder fight, but if the Bucks do beat Detroit, we're going to beat the brakes off the Bucks.
Which could set up maybe we can get a one of the biggest Buccaneer fans I know, who we've both done some media stuff with
Yeah,
before.
Matt,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Maybe he can take a break from changing tires to maybe join us. We'll try to figure that out. If
That'd be
not,
interesting.
maybe a guest appearance because I guess I would have to be in the middle and have one of you on one side, one on the other. But
Hey, that's what
he's
needs to
get,
happen.
he's going to get mad at me for doing this because he's going to say I'm jinxing him. But I agree. I think Baker Mayfield plays another game, and I have a really good feeling that the Buccaneers, they're probably not good enough to be in or to win the Super Bowl, at least based on what I've seen. Maybe they have another great game, but I think the Bucks find a way to win this game on the
Ah, look at
road.
us agreeing again.
I know this is getting scary. You guys should not use
Right.
these picks.
Do not.
So
Okay, okay.
that leads us to the primetime game. I still say that Baltimore Houston is my pick for game of the week, and it happens to be the first one. I know you're going to argue that the next one, KC having to go on the road. I know Kansas City's tired
Yes.
of hearing this. that they don't go on the road and Patrick Mahomes this and he's not scared. He didn't
You
sound
know,
scared. I
this
don't
is
think he cares.
this is his first time in his career that he's ever went on the road in the playoffs. Which is I did not know that when I was doing my little stats here, looking up my little notes.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they're 3-3 versus each other in their career. It
Ooh,
just so happens, yeah, it just so happens that Mahomes is 2-0 in the playoffs.
yeah.
Yeah, where Allen
He wins
is,
when it counts.
yes, yes, yes. But every time they've met in the playoffs, Kansas City's been at home. So this time it's a little different. Um, and Allen is 5-1 in the playoffs at home.
Hmm.
So something's gotta give. All time, these two teams are 2-3 versus each other in the playoffs, where the Bills are 2-3, the Chiefs are 3-2. The only two times that the Chiefs have lost to the Bills are 92 and 94 during that 4-year run when the Bills were in the Super Bowl every year.
Wow.
So does
And
this is this
hmm. I was about to
with
say I
Jim
don't think I
Kelly?
could name a single Chief during that time. I'd have to. Oh no,
I
Gonzalez
don't
was
think I
probably
can.
there. Tony
Maybe
Gonzalez.
Elvis. No, 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 no. He wasn't around then.
You sure?
Nah,
He
he
played a
couldn't.
long time.
I think maybe Elvis Graybeck was the
Oh yeah,
quarterback for him.
former
Maybe.
Michigan Wolverine, I believe Elvis Grback.
So and remember, like I said, those 2 years that they actually won, they ended up in the Super Bowl. They lost, but they was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Does Allen repeat that with a W here against Kansas City?
Hmm.
That's a question for you.
Because we both picked Houston, so what are they going to do with Houston? That's interesting. Hmm.
I think Buffalo beats Kansas City. Allen gets his victory against Mahomes. Um, he takes the lead in the series. He finally gets that monkey off his back when it comes to you can't beat Patrick in the playoffs. I'm seeing a different Josh Allen in the playoffs. I've seen a different Josh Allen towards the end of the year than I did in the beginning of the year. Um, I'm going Josh Allen in the Bills here.
I'm going to make a reference that both of us are going to really get, and hopefully we don't lose our audience when I say it, but I'll say it here in a minute. It's fun that these two teams and these two quarterbacks run into each other as many times as they do. This is one of the better rivalries going on right now.
I
You know,
agree.
I don't know that it's necessarily Peyton Manning, Tom Brady-esque yet, but
It could be the birth of it.
it could be. And at some point, Josh Allen has got to find a way to get over that hump and do that.
Manning getting over that hump on Brady. Brady was the
Hmm.
winning one, won the
Yeah,
rings. Mahomes the winning one. So I mean, this is really the. But go ahead
it's
with your.
it's probably as close to that as any other rivalry. But at the moment, I look at the fact that it's five simple words to me, and those five simple words are Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. It's they're one of the best 1-2 duos as far as coach and quarterback. And at the given moment, you got to kind of think that the Kansas City Chiefs, while they've had Mahomes with Andy Reid, are kind of uh, are kind of the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and that's not Brock Lesnar in Buffalo on the other side. That's not some weird
Okay,
swirly way.
okay.
It's it's hard to bet against a team that every time, whether you bet against them or not, they just keep winning. Very rarely do they not. It just that's the reference that popped in my head. They're the Undertaker
I
at
like that.
WrestleMania, and like I said, that's not Brock Lesnar they're looking at over there. That might be Randy Orton, but it's not Brock Lesnar. That might be John Cena, but Cena lost too. So I just feel
Yeah, I
like
like. Actually, that's
until
and you know what? Really, right now, that's Triple H over there. That's Shawn
yeah,
Michaels over there. Those
yeah,
those two 0-2.
oh yeah,
That's who they're seeing over there. Wow, I like how that's actually a really good metaphor.
yeah. And I
Okay.
know the Undertaker's more of a Texas fan. He's probably more of a Houston fan if he's smart than Dallas. But uh, it's
So
just that's the first thing that
I'm
popped in my
guessing you're
head.
going Kansas City.
Yeah, I just man, I've got a long history of these shows, and you've been on a bunch of them too. Obviously not the same ones, but every time I bet against Kansas City, I get burned. Same way it used to happen with Brady. Occasionally I'd go against them, I'd get burned, and I really do want to see Allen get over the hump. This is another one where the team I'm picking to win is who I think is going to win, but in this case, if Buffalo even just routed them. Maybe they rout them in 2.5 quarters in, this game's over. But until I see it, I can't predict it. So I think for now, I think it's Kansas City.
So if I'm correct, that means you have in the AFC Championship the Texans versus Kansas City. I have the Texans versus Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And in the NFC, you have the Packers versus the Bucks, and I have the 49ers versus the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reach out for there. Let's reach out one more step before we get to next week. Let's do it. Who's in the Super Bowl based off of our picks? If everything goes the way we said it. Of course, I'm saying 49ers, and I'm gonna say the Bills beat the Texans. The fairy tale ends for the Texans right there. It's
See,
gonna be Bills and 49ers.
that's the tough one for me is the AFC. NFC, I think is pretty simple. But yeah,
Well, it won't be because
do
you
I
got you
think
got the Packers. Who wins? Packers or Bucks?
see that's where it's tough because the Packers are by far the better team. But a lot of times it comes down to the better head coach and the better quarterback, and I think that's actually in Tampa Bay right now by the slimmest
Mm.
margins. By the slimmest margins. If I had to bet on one or the other as far as that, but yeah, under that, I think we got Green Bay at a Super Bowl. I think Jordan Love officially knocks Aaron right off the shoulder, and that's not a question anymore. Do I think
Texans and
Houston?
Chiefs.
Well, do I think Houston can beat Kansas City? Yeah, I think they can.
So
Somebody at some
you
point's got to knock them off there.
you
Um,
possibly see a Packers
man,
Texans. That would be beautiful.
gosh,
Man,
can I
that
go
would be
with
a
that?
beautiful Super Bowl.
Oh, that it'd be fantastic. I say,
As much as I would hate to see the 49ers lose, if
yeah.
that was the scenario, I would be A-OK.
Well, see, my thing with sports in general, what made me a much not only much more hospitable sports fan years ago, but much more happy, is that I look at it the same way I look at pro wrestling. I'll get by with who wins or who loses. I just want to be entertained.
Yes,
If we get the Houston Texans against the Green Bay Packers
that's an
for the
entertaining
Lombardi
game.
Trophy,
That's an
that might
entertaining
be the
game.
most entertaining of the 8 teams that we could put together.
Because if you see, I mean, I want to see us, don't get me wrong, but if you see
Sure.
49ers Baltimore, we've seen it. You see 49ers Kansas City, we've seen it. You
Now,
haven't seen a
49ers
49er.
Buffalo, that'd be kind of cool.
That's kind of, and that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
49ers Buffalo would be nice. And I mean, I feel like a 49er Houston would be very entertaining because you got
Oh yeah.
two of these young quarterbacks with these new teams that are going to be around for a long time.
Could you just imagine? Let's just throw this out here. I know we still got a handful of minutes.
Got you.
This is by far Fantasyland, a place I try not to even visit much because you can't get real far being in Fantasyland. Just imagine if the Houston Texans, with this rookie quarterback, with this rookie head coach, not the world's best team on paper, but they play hard for each other. They go hard. They're prepared every week. A team that's that far down. This is a team that should have like a top 10 pick this year. If they win the Super Bowl, imagine the parity that happens. You're going to have like no veterans on an NFL roster. They're going to all go with like
Yeah.
5-year players. They'll be like, how many years ago before you were in college? Well, about 3. Okay, well you're out. I need somebody younger.
And Green Bay's the youngest team in the NFL right now.
Hmm.
Same thing with them.
Uh,
Another team that I don't. No one's seen them where they're at right now. Nobody's seen
no,
that. Neither one of these teams.
they're not supposed to be here.
And it goes back, and that's why, and that's what makes both of these teams the most dangerous team in the NFL. Most dangerous teams right now in the playoffs are those two teams, and that's why um, my hate for the Cowboys shines here. While I was hoping that they would beat y'all. I mean, but I hate the Packers just as much. Hate them
Sure,
just as much.
sure.
Um,
Well, think about it
so
too. Is Green Bay went into Jerry World, not just Dallas, not just the home of the Cowboys. No, they went into Jerry's palace and smacked the Cowboys around so bad that they
the
almost
score was
they
way
almost
closer than what it
upended.
was.
Right. Well, it was
They
all
put
right,
their
Falcons.
backups in.
But I say Falcons fans, you're going to get mad at me for this, but Dak Prescott had a very Matt Ryan like game. Most of his stats were in garbage time, so let's not pretend he had a good day. He had an awful day. Matt Ryan has way better days than that. He's a way better quarterback than Dak, but a lot of Matt Ryan's stats come in garbage time when the game doesn't matter. That's what happened last
Yeah,
week.
Also, now the Green Bay Packers have more wins in AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys do. Playoff wins, but more playoff wins. That's scary.
Yeah, I think there's a couple teams that actually have more regular season wins. It's not good.
But I mean, it is what it is. We're not this
Yeah,
this is not let's beat down Cowboys. We're talking about the Packers.
no, that's a different
Um,
podcast.
um, it's going to be a good weekend of games. Do
Oh
I
yeah,
see any blowouts? Do we see any blowouts happening? I think there's a possibility for blowouts. I believe, honestly, the Ravens could rout the Texans. It could happen. This is a younger team going against a team that's rested. I could see us blowing the Packers away. This
hmm
is a team that's by far better. I could see the Lions just ripping the Bucks apart.
yeah.
Once again, um, the KC and Bills game, I see it being a close game regardless. I just don't see one team blowing the other one away.
See,
Um,
I disagree though. I think at least one of these four games are going to be a blowout. And by blowout, I mean more than two
Over by
scores.
halftime.
More than
Yeah.
two scores. So at least 15 points at that 15 to 17, I would say is getting close to blowout. And
And who do you think's got the biggest chance here?
I think it's Kansas City. I
Really? You think
think I
Kansas City's
think
just
this
going to put it
I
on Buffalo?
I don't I get this weird feeling about that game that I mean it may be swapped. Maybe it's Buffalo that does it Kansas City. I just think if you had to bet on one of the four to be a blowout, I think it's the one we think is going to be the closest. I think it's that game.
You know what? You might be right. You might be right. Hey, let's switch gears just a little bit. How much time we got?
About 2.5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, this will be a quick one then.
Be a short game.
So there's four teams now that has head coach vacancies.
hmm
I'm gonna read them out to you, which you might already know, but I'm gonna read them out for people that don't know, and you tell me which one you'd want to be over, and I'll tell you which one me, and then we'll end it
Okay.
with that. You got the Chargers, the Falcons, the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Raiders, Washington, Titans, and Carolina. Who you got?
Like if I could pick either of those jobs,
Yes,
the Raiders.
Raiders. Why Raiders?
I think they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of young guys. I think they could easily be one of these Houstons or easily be one of these Green Bays in a year or so. I don't want to kick Antonio Pierce out. He's really good. But not only that, but you live in Vegas. Um, it's a good market. It's an untapped market that only the Golden Knights in hockey have really tapped. I think there's so much room for growth as far as an organization, and I just feel like the Raiders are just maybe a full step, maybe a half step away from being good again.
Okay, okay. I would take the Chargers. I think they got a quarterback that's there. Also, I'm kind of looking at Carolina. You get him some help, they might be okay. Plus, they're in a weak division. That's the
Well,
two I would.
quick prediction: we have about an hour and not an hour. We have about a minute and a half left. I have said for the last week that if you told me that Bill Belichick coaches the Titans next year and Pete Carroll coaches Carolina, I think both those teams improve. They are good fits for both those people.
I could see Belichick in ATL.
I hope not, but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think that's
yeah.
what I think it undoes everything the Falcons have done in the last 5 years, which for some
I
fans might be a good thing, but
You need an offensive coach in Atlanta right now. The defensive one's not the answer.
right.
All right. Well,
But that's a yeah,
that's it.
we're getting really close to the end of our time. When it gets down to a minute, I have no idea how much is exactly there. So, uh, any final remarks before we get out of here?
Daniel Snyder 8361. Hey, watch me on YouTube. I'm about to start streaming tonight with my buddies.
Hey, there you
Call
go.
of Duty.
Go watch. I'm probably gonna do that while I'm putting this show up. But for Daniel Snyder, I am Jeremy York, repping the A as always. We will see you guys next week. Deuces, gooses.